Hi, I'm Terry Burns, and I wanted to share with you today one of my favorite word plays in the hieroglyphic monad, and one that is real easy on the surface, at least, to explain. This set of wordplay videos is intended to supplement my course on the hieroglyphic monad. If you're interested in that course, the playlist for that, or the link to the first one, is below. But what I want to talk about today, real quickly, is a strange word that shows up in the theorems in Theorem 22. Litro Vinium, and it's surrounded by a bunch of words in Hebrew that I'm not going to talk about right now. And indeed, there has been some debate for hundreds of years about what they are. Talk about that when we get to Theorem 22. But remember the context for the hieroglyphic monad. And if you haven't watched my video on context and so forth, I'll put the link to that below also. But one of the links is the Sefer Yetzirah. Some people say Dee couldn't know the Sefer Yetzirah. They're wrong. Dee had to have known it for a lot of the things that he is suggesting to work out. And the important thing about the Sefer Yetzirah is that it's a cosmogenic text about the creation of the universe from the 22 letters of the Hebrew Aleph Bet. So it should be no surprise that these Hebrew letters, whatever they are in Theorem 22, which will be a very important theorem. And there's a lot of other really strange, delightfully strange wordplay in that theorem. But this word that looks like it is Latin is one that English translators particularly puzzled over, because it doesn't show up in any Latin dictionary any translator could find. And hey, I'm not here to brag and say, oh, Nancy Turner and I figured it out, because we're not the ones that figured it out. Bear with us here. But the first scholarly translator in English, C.H. Yostin, suggested in his Ambix translation that maybe this means a liter of wine. It's like, that's kind of improbable, even though you figure he's focused on physical alchemy. So all right, there should be some wine showing up, but no. That was refuted by David Obeson, pen name of the art historian Fred Gettings, in his book, Shakespeare's Secret Book, on page 226. He says the liter of measure fluid didn't exist in Dee's time. Well, I mean, there are other ways you can twist what Jostin is saying around, but then it doesn't fit with the theorem. It just makes no sense. Raphael Prink, who is a very good Hermetic scholar, and Paul Ferguson, who I've referred to in his translation of the V.I.T.R.O.L.E.U.M of Pantheist, because D puns in V.I.T.R.O.L.E.U.M. That's another whole wordplay video. The two of them were having a discussion, and Prink speculated that litro could be a litron, which is a dry measurement. That seemed as good as any, but it still didn't help explain that theorem. And if you know that the Sefer Yetzirah is a big context, and the 22 letters of the Hebrew Aleph Bet are creating the universe. So you think, well, what can this mean? Well, there was a German translator, Agnes Klein, in 1980. She solved the puzzle. So in her translation on page 150 in the notes, she has a very simple, beautiful solution. It's an anagram. An anagram of what? Well, let's see what we would connect with the Philosopher's Stone. Litro Vinium, rearrange the words, you get in V.I.T.R.O.L.E.U.M. Now, V.I.T.R.O.L.E.U.M has a variety of different meanings, but it is usually presented as an acronym. So this is an anagram for an acronym. So, for example, in the most common of the alchemical acronyms, and when we get to Theorem 22, I'll talk about a couple others. It's Visita Interiora Terrae Rectificando Invenies Occultum Lapidem Verum Medicinum. So visit the interior of the earth, and by rectifying, you will find the hidden stone, which is the true medicine, or you will find the Philosopher's Stone. It's part of the insignia of the Alchemy Guild even today. So, Agnes Klein, thank you for figuring that out. That's awesome. What that has to do with Theorem 22, we'll talk about when we get there. All right.